Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you with another video. All right, so tonight, the Los Angeles Lakers have a game against the Philadelphia 76ers at the Crow. I thought this game was in Philadelphia because we had been playing a bunch of East Coast games, and I figured this was the last of the East Coast trip. Should have checked, made a video this morning telling everybody about the game in Philly. It's not in Philly, it's at the Crow in Los Angeles today. So, um, Philly has pretty much everybody healthy. The only people on the injury report are a couple of guys that are not even in their rotation. So we're going to have to deal with a full spectrum of players that includes Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, Forkin Korkmaz, Shake Milton, obviously Tyrese Maxey, and, you know, James Harden. Yeah, James Harden is now with the Philadelphia 76ers, as we all know, and he is going to be someone who's going to attack us tonight. Uh, Listen, we do not have enough for this team on most nights. We have to catch them slipping. Maybe they have a cold night and we have a hot night. That's what has to happen in order for us to beat this kind of team. They have so much size in terms of Joel Embiid alone that we just don't have an answer for. And my concern is the same thing I said in the video earlier, is that we're going to come out, lay an egg, and then start hanging our heads, lowering our shoulders, and start thinking about who we've been as opposed to who we're becoming over the last three games. We've shown that we have a lot to offer when we play our wings. A guy by the name of Wenyen Gabriel has joined this team and completely changed the dynamic of the squad. Now that we have somebody in there who can guard wings, give us some length out there, play defense, have active hands and things of that nature, doing just dirty work stuff, coupling that with his ability to stretch the floor some and all of these different things. We now have that coupled with Stanley Johnson in the fold, giving us defensive wings and more or less threats that we didn't have before. So I think that dynamic now makes us much more dangerous. You couple that with the fact that we now have players coming back into the fold like Anthony Davis and possibly Kendrick Nunn. You're bringing in DJ Augustin, and at the same time, you have players like THT and Austin Reeves and Malik Monk continuing to improve and play well and stay sturdy and give us youth in areas where we otherwise had vets playing and kind of being slow and not giving us what we needed. Now, the key for us, in my humble opinion, is refraining to do certain things that we normally do. Going small, putting Carmelo Anthony at the five, playing those vets and asking them to run against fast-footed players like Tyrese Maxey. That's not going to work. If we're going to have any success tonight, we're going to have to take advantage of any opportunity we have to put size on the floor, and we're going to have to lean on our young players to try to keep the pace at a level that we appreciate. And we're just going to have to understand that Joel Embiid is going to do the same thing that Porzingis did, possibly much worse. Now, the thing about this team is the last time James Harden was on the floor, before the previous game they just played against Miami, where they won, but none of their starters played. None of their big guys played. So in the previous game, they played Toronto, whom we just beat and had a great showing against. They couldn't seem to get their offense going because they had James Harden kind of off, and they were going to him too much. If we can maybe see a little bit more of that, if that's going to be the regular way their starters play until they figure it out, maybe we can catch them. Because obviously the last game that they played against Miami, they didn't have their guys, and that kind of straightened some things out for some guys like Shake Milton and Forkin Korkmaz to basically carry the load. Well, if James Harden's on the floor, in theory, if the data from that previous game is telling us anything, he's going to take the ball out of those guys' hands. He's going to render them a little more one-dimensional. A guy like Tyrese Maxey isn't going to go off for 28 points. If James Harden has the ball in his hands so much, they're not doing to us what they did to us last time, which was give the ball to Joel Embiid and repeatedly destroy us over and over and over again. That was my critique about their team before the trade, is that I didn't like watching them because of that. He just continues to just relentlessly pound the ball and kind of take it himself. It gets to a point where it's like, my God, man, is anybody else going to shoot the ball? But it works for them. Now that Harden's there, that's not what's going on, and the adjustment has been a bit uncomfortable for everybody at this stage. So because it's this stage, and because we're playing well, I think we can catch them. Especially since the game is in our building, I think we can catch them. Now, obviously, they're going to be wide awake for the Los Angeles Lakers, given the fact that we've been playing well, and of course, we have LeBron James, and everybody wakes up for the King. So, obviously, the scoring but the scoring lead is up for grabs between three players, Giannis, and of course these two guys here, Joel Embiid, and of course our King James. So obviously that's going to be the narrative surrounding this game tonight. Those two players are going to be people watch quite a bit and try to see who can outscore whom and try to get the edge in that scoring race. So keep an eye open for that. What else? DeAndre Jordan. Obviously, he's going to be returning to the Crow tonight to face his former team. He was here for 5 minutes ago. Yeah. So be on the lookout for him to try to prove to us that with the minutes that we didn't use him in the second half of the season, that he would have otherwise done some good things for us. So I don't believe that he would, but I think Philly thinks otherwise, and good luck to them. So that's what I got to say about that. Let's see. As far as this game is concerned, my only thing is just continuing to dive to the rim. Every single opportunity we got in the previous game, we were running plays that got the ball into the paint. Didn't settle for as many threes. I think we shot only 30 of them, or 30 plus of them. That's the range we would prefer to stay in. And the good thing about it was we had shooters shooting those threes. DJ Augustine, I think if I'm not mistaken, had 6 threes in that game. That's not something we're expecting every night, but it is a recipe for success when we're allowing him to shoot those threes as opposed to Russell and Bron and some of these other guys, Austin Reeves, shooting those threes who don't shoot the percentage that those guys will be able to put up at this time. So I think that's a recipe for success when we try to take advantage of that. Also, THT is questionable. Not sure if he's going to be available. If he's not available, that means more Stanley Johnson and also more Wenyen Gabriel. So we obviously understand that that's a recipe for success for us as well, playing those two guys more so and give them opportunities to keep that pace strong and play defense. So, yeah, it's going to be a rough game. Even though we're playing well, even though Bron is playing at such a high level, they're fully healthy, and they are a contender, and they have a lot to play for. You know, this is an important game for them because they're still trying to figure out where they're going to be seated in the playoff, and this game matters. So I would imagine they're going to bring it tonight, and we should too. You know, we should too. We're a team that's been playing very well. Had we not dropped that game in Washington, we'd be on a 3-game winning streak, and all 3 would have been on the road. Now, I don't know what that means for bringing us back home, because we know that some of our players tend to play better on the road, particularly Russell Westbrook, who's been absolutely phenomenal on that road trip, giving us basically a triple-double every night with pretty good scoring and keeping his turnovers down. He's just found his confidence. Somewhere in the road trip, I guess he was able to go back to that familiar place in Washington and kind of just get some of that home cooking. Obviously, go to Cleveland, get a win. Go to Toronto, get a win, and play well in all those games. You gotta think that that's going to carry over, and you hope so. You know, this is a Hall of Famer at the end of the day. Obviously, the adjustment to be in this team and the adjustment that his body has made has been hard for him. And I think over time, you would imagine that certain things just kind of become more natural to you. And I think that we're starting to see that happen now. So I'm hopeful that he can keep that momentum going, lead this team tonight, not hang his head if he turns the ball over a bit more than maybe he would like to, because this is a team that forces turnovers. You're talking about 2 of the best defensive players in the game when you talk about Joel Embiid and Matisse Thybulle. So that right there lets you know that they're going to do their job. And if they do, they're going to force you into some things that you don't want to do. So not to just become dejected, you know, if the lead somehow isn't in our favor or what have you. I think what I want to see tonight is just effort, you know, a lot of hard effort. Just hard running. Everybody follow the lead of the players that give us energy. And I think that will give us an opportunity to be good and feel good about this game. protect our house. At the end of the day, we're not going to let somebody roll over and knock us out. That's what should be the mindset. If they're going to beat us, we're going to beat them up. If Joel Embiid is going to get layups, he's going to have to feel hard fouls. That's the way we need to approach this game. Speaking of fouls, understand this. This is a James Harden, Joel Embiid-led team, which means that the referees are going to be very much blowing their whistles tonight in their favor. It's a Harden game, y'all. Y'all know how he gets down. He's going to be at the line if things continue to go the way they always have. So this game could be about 5 hours. Do not be surprised. It's just how it goes. Those guys get their calls, and they draw a lot of fouls. Which brings me to another point. We got to make sure that we try our best to keep those fouls down. Same point, same reason. They can keep our players off of the floor and make us put rotations on the floor that otherwise we don't want to see. And I say that with a little sarcasm because I know Frank is going to do that anyway. But the point is, you don't want foul trouble to ruin your situation like it did in Washington with Wenyen Gabriel getting 4 fouls and hardly getting any minutes and any production out of that game. So, do I think Coach could have played him more in that game? Sure, but that's a whole other day. Whole other story for a whole other day. We'll move on from there. Yeah, that's what it is, man. Hopefully AD is well on his way back, continuing to improve on the rehab. I'm very excited about what this team can look like now that guys are starting to play better. Of course, now that Wenyen's here, Augustine's here, I think that gives us a bit more to work with. I think those can be 2 players that play well with Anthony Davis in certain lineups, so that's interesting for us. Yeah, keep shooting. I want everybody on this team to keep shooting, but not threes. What I mean by keep shooting, and I got to preface that because we do shoot too many 3-point shots. Keep shooting, Austin Reeves. THT, don't get discouraged when you miss shots. Stanley Johnson, continue to take the shots that they continue to leave you open to take. I don't know why they think he's a bad shooter. He always burns them when he does take them. I don't know. But keep shooting those. Wenyen Gabriel, same thing. Those are the players I want to keep shooting. Specific players. Carmelo Anthony has to be put in situations where he to me, has to be used with a purpose. Okay? Let's just say this about our guy Melo. We love having him here. He's a fantastic rebounding presence for us, which is important. But he gets exposed defensively. Now, we've seen good defensive moments out of him, and we've pointed those out. But all in all, we understand, it's universally understood, that he is exploited defensively. They target him. Damn near every night, damn near every coach. It's just how it goes. So we need to understand that and stop putting him in positions to be exploited. Put him in lineups where they have too much else to think about. In terms of defense, we have to leave him down there with Wenyen, leave him down there with Braun, leave him down there with Stanley, leave him down there with all the defenders so that we can have an opportunity to give him as much help as possible. Because I just don't think we've seen a whole lot of good out of Carmelo Anthony if he's not hot. And that's something that's very important to say. He tends to pick up bad fouls. That's another thing I want him to kind of shore that up. He gets untimely fouls that kind of take our momentum away from us in a similar way that Russell Westbrook's turnovers take away momentum. Superstars tend to control momentum. That's one thing I understand. I don't know if it's something in the universe. I have no idea what it is, but they can give you momentum and they can take momentum, unlike role players or guys that just are kind of okay. And even though these guys aren't stars anymore, they still carry that energy for some reason. Russell has it, and so does Melo. So we have to get those guys to understand that the decisions that they make, especially Carmelo Anthony, often determines what happens in the end of the game. We tend to trust him, and sometimes he does things that literally burns us. And that's something I've been noticing. And like I said, I like Melo, but he has some early shooting habits that come from being a star in New York that allowed him to shoot whenever he wanted to, and that's bad for our team. Those are out of rhythm shots a lot of time, and especially at the end of the game, we got to be mindful of the clock and be strategic about it. Great teams control the clock in every way, and that is something that is extremely important. So I want us to understand that, kind of study that, and I think if we utilize him properly, he can be an asset for us. But if we continue to use him the way we've been using him, he's going to burn us. And he's going to burn us in a time when we don't need him to. So that's something that I've been paying attention to. It's important that we be mindful of that. So, all in all, team's been playing great. I'm not going to be discouraged if we get blown out tonight, because if we do, Philly did what they were supposed to do. They are a much better team with the MVP, arguably, probably the MVP on their team. They're playing for a championship, and they have all their horses. I think they have a bit of a shallow bench to a degree, especially if Joel Embiid gets in foul trouble and their size situation becomes a DeAndre Jordan conversation. Then we could see some things. But other than that, you just think about guys like Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey and Shake Milton, Fork and Korkmaz. Even if one or two of them are cold, you'd imagine that the others won't be. So that's going to be the thing. Can we handle all of the different weapons that they can throw at us on top of those MVP candidates? And just a very talented team. So that's what it is, man. That's what it is. But we can catch them slipping. Teams do catch them slipping. They're not a perfect team. I don't have them coming out of the East, and I don't think they've worked out their offensive issues yet, especially with their main players. And they're going to be trying to work those kinks out tonight against us, who should be, in theory, a bad defensive team. So I think our defense is much improved, and I'm hopeful that we can continue to take the steps necessary to be as good as we could be in small ball situations, obviously. So that's what it is, man. Philadelphia 76ers. I've mentioned pretty much everybody that I think is going to make an impact on this game tonight. I'm sure there's some others though, but those are the guys that I think ultimately we need to keep an eye on. And because they're 100% healthy, and LeBron isn't, if they do decide to scratch Bron tonight, I wouldn't be surprised. This is the kind of game where you can kind of get away with sitting Bron. And the reason why I say that is because he ain't supposed to win anyway. So I do think he's going to play because Joel's over there. But if we're smart, since he's questionable, I would sit him. But that's just me. Anyway, that's what I got to say, man. BDF 44. I thank you all for watching. Everyone enjoy the game, and I'm out.